And he doesn't know, but it's a desire tree. And he happens to lie down under this tree to rest. And he's thinking to himself, oh man, I sure wish I had some nice food or something to drink. And then he smells this delicious food. And he looks around the tree, and there's this whole spread, you know, this feast with all delicious kinds of food that you could want. And so he just, you know, eats all this food, and he's very, very tired, and he thinks, oh man, I sure wish I had a nice bed to lie down in. And all of a sudden he looks, and there's this beautiful bed with nice covers and pillows, and he just kind of falls into the bed. He's out like a light. Then after a long time, he wakes up, and he looks around, and he goes, boy, that was the best meal and the best sleep I've had in a long time. But then he starts to worry, and he says, well, how is this happening? We're out here in the middle of nowhere, you know, and yeah, maybe it's a man-eating ghost, you know. And of course, what happens? A man-eating ghost appears and gobbles him up. You see? So the holy name is a desire tree. If you're chanting the holy name, if you're serving the holy name, if you're glorifying the holy name, teaching the holy name, then whatever you desire is going to manifest. Including if you don't believe. If you don't believe that the holy name is a desire tree, it won't do anything. Because that's your desire. You want to believe that the holy name doesn't do anything, so it won't. But if you approach the holy name with the desire, whatever it is, it will manifest. So if you have some desire for something that is not good for your devotional service, then you just might get it. And then, you know, you lose your advancement. What was it?
So, I guess it just seems that being in material consciousness, there's all these desires and nonsense that comes up, especially while chanting. So,
because you're cleaning your mind. And when you clean, all the dirt is going to come up, of course.
So, how do I distinguish between, when dirt comes up, how do I distinguish between, I don't know if this is the right way to say this, but...
It's like, how do I know whether I'm eating ice cream because there just happens to be ice cream in front of me, or if I really want ice cream? If you can't tell whether you really want ice cream or not, you know, I can't help you with that. You have to get to know yourself well enough that you can discern whether it's just your mind going off or whether it's really your desire.
Okay,
if you don't make a distinction between those two things, then you're in real trouble.
Okay. But to uproot the desires, but in order to actually...
You have to desire to uproot the desires.
Okay.
Duh.
Okay, I think I'm understanding.
This is about consciousness. So how can you do something with consciousness except by using a tool made of consciousness? If I have a nail, I have to hit it with a hammer made of iron. The nail is iron, the hammer is iron. So the material of the tool has to match the material that it's supposed to work on. Okay? If I'm working on consciousness, if I'm trying to change my consciousness, then the tool I use has to be made of consciousness. What are all of the attributes of consciousness? Come on, we've been over this a million times. Will, intention, desire, initiative, emotion, so many sub-headings of consciousness. Individuality, personality, will, you know, on and on and on. All these psychological symptoms of consciousness. So, if you want to change your consciousness, then you have to change these symptoms, and you have to desire to change them. If you don't desire to change them, how are they going to change? They don't. It's not a mechanical process. It is not a mechanical process. Want me to say it again? It's not a mechanical process.
Could you explain what that means?
That means you don't just chant and something happens. If it was a mechanical process, we'd all just chant and we go back home, back to Godhead immediately. But it's not. It's based on our desire. And because our desire is polluted, we delay our going back to Godhead. We delay our attaining pure love of Kṛṣṇa because we have all these other desires that we want to experience. And they're all bad for us. Yeah, they're basically nonsense. Well, why should I want to stick around in this material world and take another birth? Oh, horrible. See? So you could boil down all these anarthas to the desire to continue our material existence. These are all different varieties, different flavors of that desire. And because actually that's the last thing we should want. I mean, it's not even the last thing. We shouldn't even want it at all. We should just want to be in the spiritual world with Kṛṣṇa. Because that's where all joy and happiness really comes from. So try to understand. Anarthas means we are not controlling our desire to cut out all of these material attachments. We are allowing our mind to lead us into desiring things that are material, that aren't good for us. You know? So that's the how of it, is that you just desire. Don't ask me how you desire, please. You know, at some point you have to like sit down with your own consciousness and work out all of these things. Play with it. Observe your consciousness. Sit down and do things with your consciousness. Exercise your consciousness. Observe your consciousness. That's how it begins, is by observing. Most people aren't even conscious that they're conscious. Unless you ask them, are you conscious? Then, yeah, I guess so. Rather, we should be observing our consciousness at every moment. We should be exquisitely aware of our consciousness. There's so much to consciousness. There's more going on in each individual's consciousness than in the whole material world put together. I mean, consciousness is such a vast field. And most people don't know the first thing about consciousness. They don't even know what consciousness is. So how are they going to change their consciousness? They're simply at the mercy of their mind and senses. And then they get all this conditioning in school and all this nonsense on TV and all this crap. They just like let it pour in through their senses. All this wrong conditioning. And then they wonder why they're not happy. They're basically insane. Because consciousness is the most important thing. If you're not conscious, nothing else matters. So consciousness is what gives the value to everything that's valuable. It's what gives the importance to everything that's important. See, consciousness is so, so important. Without consciousness, nothing else matters. So we have to be aware of our consciousness and we have to develop our consciousness. And the only way to do that is to start by observing our consciousness. Otherwise, we don't even know what there is to develop. It always amazes me that people don't put more effort into this development of consciousness. Consciousness is everything. Like we were talking about, even if you get the goals or the objects of your desire, if you're not conscious of them, what use is it? It's like if I don't go and check my post office box, I could get a check in the mail and I wouldn't even know that I had it. See? I might be some way Krishna conscious, but if I don't even check my consciousness, if I don't even know how to observe my consciousness or evaluate the condition of my consciousness, I'm not even going to know it. I'm going to miss. And this happens all the time. People have spiritual experiences all the time. Every moment we're having a spiritual experience. It's called being conscious. And we're missing it because we don't understand. We don't have the right ontology. We don't know that being conscious is itself a spiritual experience. But because our consciousness is directed toward the material senses, we don't understand any of this, and we just miss the whole thing. It goes right by. We don't even get it. So, what can I say, people? You have to become mystics, you have to become yogis, you have to become advanced in transcendental knowledge. And it all starts from consciousness. That's why the first thing that Krishna teaches Arjuna